afternoon. I think it's afternoon. I was trying to check, but I'm wearing too many layers to block myself from all this wind. I definitely am going to keep this short, hopefully for everyone's benefit, because I think a lot of us have been hearing about how great this project is for at least 6 months, and I think that some people might be thinking, oh, the big stuff is over, but it's not. It definitely is not. We've heard a little bit about that today. Attracting the investment of Panasonic Energy, breaking ground, making these tens of thousands of jobs a reality is just the beginning. And luckily, in my role as the federal partner, I've had the chance to vote on and get passed some pretty transformational pieces of legislation to help facilitate the success of projects just like this one. And y'all knew it wasn't going to take long for me to talk about infrastructure. And I'm talking about the bipartisan infrastructure bill. I'm talking about our domestic manufacturing bills that we got passed last year. And by the way, both of those were done in a bipartisan way, because we recognize the importance of this type of legislation to get projects just like this done. The work, as we're seeing, is just getting started, though. We have to make sure that as we're developing out and attracting these amazing projects, that we're doing it in a really thoughtful way. I'm really excited that we are getting the chance to host Secretary Buttigieg today, because, well, first of all, I love when people come visit us in Kansas so they can see all the amazing stuff that we're doing, but also because, whether it's in conversations with the mayor of DeSoto, with now Chairman Kelly with our county commission in Johnson County, local business folks, people who have just reached out to my office about this. We know that the plans that we're seeing and the movements that we're seeing are absolutely vital to the success and prosperity for not just the here and now, but for our children and grandchildren. And when we talk about how this community will be impacted and changed because of projects like this, because of the Panasonic project, we know that we need to be thinking about the future of infrastructure. There it is again. I can't help it. I just love talking about infrastructure. Whether we're talking about wastewater, whether we're talking about supply chain infrastructure, or even the housing that people are going to need, all of these things are important for us to be focusing on with all of our partners, state, local, and federal. And one of the big things we have kind of heard about already is how we're going to be prepared as a workforce. Our community needs to be thinking about this stuff, and I definitely want to give a shout out to Johnson County Community College, not because I went there, but also because we know that they have already started an amazing partnership with Panasonic to help make sure that our workforce is there and ready, and that those opportunities exist for people who are already in the. Everybody keeps talking about young people. I consider myself to be in the middle. I'm not quite young people. I'm not old yet, but we're talking about getting people ready, whether they're looking to build stuff or looking to help be engineers and that sort of thing. We have got to make sure that we're set up and those opportunities exist for everybody. The momentum that we're seeing from the bipartisan infrastructure bill, from the CHIPS and Science Act, or domestic manufacturing legislation, is it's going to be huge. But for real, the implementation of those bills is exactly what I'm going to be focusing on. And I hope to work with so many of you that are here today as we look at the next couple of years of implementation of those massive pieces of legislation. Because we're starting to see the benefits now, but we have to keep our eye on the prize and turn left on, just kidding, sorry. But so I want to say thank you to Secretary Buttigieg for coming out here, because we know there's a world of opportunity ahead for Kansas. We're hearing about that so much in these last couple of years. We're attracting innovation. We're building sustainable communities, and we're doing it around this type of an investment. And I'm going to continue to be a strong federal partner on all of those projects, and I am excited introduce our special guest today. This is his third visit to Kansas. We're making it a habit. I'm looking forward to hosting you again when you come back out here. I'm so grateful that that you've decided to join us here in DeSoto today. Secretary Pete Buttigieg, come on up.
Well, thanks so much, first of all, to Representative Davids for your friendship, for your leadership. She is somebody who you should know is relentlessly, whether it's naturally in the flow of conversation or not, is relentlessly advocating for this district and for this community. She has been a leader in the infrastructure from the moment that she got to Washington, and she's somebody who we turn to find solutions, especially those bipartisan solutions that help get things done. And her support for the bipartisan infrastructure law, for the CHIPS and Science Act, for the Inflation Reduction Act are all part of what makes it possible for us to now be going around the country celebrating big wins in infrastructure and celebrating big wins when it comes to good paying American manufacturing jobs like the ones that are going to happen right here just as soon as we're done with these good paying construction jobs that we're celebrating with our union friends here from the building trades who are doing such great work to make this happen. Thank you, and no pressure. To Alan Swan and everybody with Panasonic Energy North America, we thank you so much. This is one of the most innovative companies in Japan, one of the U.S.'s closest, greatest allies, and now right here on American soil with American workers doing incredibly important work to help combat climate change and create jobs at the same time. So thank you for believing in the U.S. and in our workers. And I want to thank once again the workers and the unions represented here for the skill and the hard work that's going to build something that is transformational and foundational for the future of this community. I want to recognize and thank Lieutenant Governor Toland. We were just together celebrating the opening of KCI. And now celebrating good news here. And I know that his leadership and Governor Kelly's leadership, the focus on education and quality of life, and certainly the understanding of the importance of infrastructure is a big part of why Kansas was able to successfully implement this effort. And I would add that our Federal Highway Administrator was with the Governor just this month groundbreaking the project on US 69, which is going to improve safety, reduce congestion, and is just one more example of transportation investments totaling over $1 billion that our department has been able to make to support Kansas. To Mayor Walker and my fellow former mayor, Chairman Kelly, thank you for your bipartisan work to make these communities better off. That local leadership on the ground is so essential to getting this done. I got to say, I would have loved in my mayor days to have a $4 billion piece of good news. So you are the envy of a lot of communities. And I want to say, seeing these kinds of good-paying auto-related jobs emerging in the American heartland is very personal to me. Because I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, literally in the shadow of a factory that belonged to the Studebaker Auto Company that had been silent for 20 years before I was even born. We considered it massive. It's about 1/6 of the size of what's going to happen here in terms of square feet. And so I saw firsthand what it can mean to a community to have these good paying auto jobs and what it can mean to a community to lose them. And so many people in so many communities, in places like Indiana, in places like Kansas, grew up with the message in recent decades that the only way to succeed was to get out. And so now seeing those jobs coming back, seeing those jobs grow here in Kansas and in new auto and auto-related plants in Indiana, in Michigan, in Louisiana, in South Carolina, in Tennessee, in Georgia, Nevada, and more places around the country, demonstrates that this really is a new and stronger era for American manufacturing, for which we so far have to show 800,000 manufacturing jobs created in this country since President Biden took office, and it's only going to grow as plants like this one come online. We are bringing EV costs down and the number of jobs in EV manufacturing up at the same time, and that didn't just happen by chance. Policies on EV infrastructure and policies on supporting American manufacturing are driving this American renaissance. Ask any global company in the EV supply chain why they are choosing to open a new facility in the U.S., and you will hear about the investments that we're making, the infrastructure law, the climate jobs law, and other good policies as among the decisive factors. Panasonic is a fantastic example of what is possible here. President Biden has often pointed out that as we build these supply chains in America, our allies and partners are building them alongside us. So we are so glad and thankful for the partnership of Panasonic. We just got to look at this field of dreams, as the president might say. One that, when it opens, will be one of the largest EV manufacturing battery facilities in the world. And of course, what the construction workers on this site are building isn't just a factory, they're building livelihoods for themselves, for their families, for their communities, and for the 4,000 workers who will then put food on the table and put their kids through school, working on the assembly lines that will take shape behind where I'm standing. When this is done, 4,000 workers will be part of a new generation in American auto manufacturing, carrying forward into this century a legacy that brought so many people into the middle class in the first place during the last one. But this is not our grandparents' kind of manufacturing facility. This is advanced manufacturing that is going to put us at the front of the global race for the jobs of the future. I want to be clear that these jobs will require enormous technical ability and skill, but they will not necessarily require a four-year university degree. So many of the workers we've seen in EV battery plants around the country, often making six figures, do not necessarily have college degrees. Some of them were working in retail or service jobs for lower pay, then got technical training, like what Panasonic is doing with Johnson County Community College, in order to get on that ladder up into the middle class. I also want to lift up the bipartisan work of leaders like Governor Kelly, Governor Kemp, I would add, in Georgia, Mayor Walker, others who recognize what's so clear to workers here, which is that in the long run, EVs will be remembered not as a front in an invented culture war between red and blue America, but as a front in the very real global competition with countries like China for the future of manufacturing. And building EVs well is one of the best ways we can make sure that the U.S. and our friends get that race. It can be frustrating in Washington to see some people willing to take potshots at good jobs for their own constituents by opposing EV manufacturing. But as the president has said and demonstrated, our administration works for every American. And we're going to take every opportunity to bring more good-paying EV manufacturing jobs across the country. We want to make sure every American has the opportunity to participate in this economy, to be part of building electric vehicles, and to have the choice of buying and driving electric vehicles, which is why we're working to bring the upfront cost of an EV down and bringing chargers to every part of the country. So let me end just where I started, which is, again, as a son of the industrial Midwest, this rebirth of American manufacturing is something that I think we will be proud of for the rest of our lives. It means people in the community I grew up in, people of every race and background, people of every educational level will have an opportunity to get in on this new economy without getting out of the communities that produce them. What we see underway here in DeSoto, former Army plant, and remediated Superfund site being turned into an advanced manufacturing facility that will employ thousands. This is what it looks like as President Biden's vision for new American manufacturing comes to life. Again, I want to thank everybody who is part of this. I'm going to be watching closely because this is an aggressive project timeline, which I have every confidence will be met. And I can't wait to see how it's going to go with the ribbon cutting and beyond. Thanks so much for the chance to be here, and congratulations.